তারা বলছে না আমরা জানি না, মেরে রেখে দিয়ে গেছে এখানে, ওই তেরিয়াল ওইখানে রাস্তার ধারে ওইখানে লাশটা পাইছি আর কি। বডিতে ওর কোনো আঘাতের চিহ্ন নাই, শুধু 3টা গুলি, 2টা বুকে আর একটা মাথায়, এখানে একটা গুলি আর 2টা বুকে, আর কোনোখানে কোনো ইয়ার আঘাত নাই।
এই যে দলিল, দলিল তো কেন শোনা তোমরা, এই যে দলিল পত্রগুলো। জানুয়ারি মাসের 1 তারিখে সেদিনকে বুধবার বেলা 5 ঘটিকার সময় যৌথ বাহিনীরা আমার বাড়ির সাইডে রাস্তায় গাড়ি রেখে আমার বাড়ির ভিতরে হামলা করে। এবার ওই যে বুল রিজার্ভ ওই গাড়িটা এনে আমার বাড়িটা ভাঙচুর করে হামলা করেছে, কিন্তু আমার সোনার খবর কেউ বলতে পারেনি যে অমুক জায়গায় আমার সোনার রেখেছে। সারা রাত বা একটা ছেলের যদি এইরকম যদি চিলির মতো এসে ছদে তুলে নিয়ে যায়, তাহলে কোনো ব্যক্তি ধীরেই রাত্রি বিছানে পাশ দিতে পারে? হতি না হতি আর ওই যে
222 Bangladesh is a parliamentary democracy with a multi-party system. The country gained independence from Pakistan in 1971, and since then it has had a tumultuous political history, marked by coups, military rule, and political violence. However, since the restoration of democratic rule in 1991, Bangladesh has held regular elections and transition between different political parties and alliances. The ruling party is usually the party or coalition of parties that wins the most seats in the parliament in a free and fair election. While Bangladesh has a functioning democratic system, there have been concerns about the state of democracy and human rights in the country in recent years. For example, there have been allegations of restrictions on freedom of speech in the media, as well as reports of electoral fraud and political violence. There have been concerns and allegations of irregularities and violence during elections in Bangladesh. The country has a history of electoral violence, with incidents of intimidation, vote rigging, and violence reported during many elections. In recent years, there have been allegations of electoral fraud and irregularities in Bangladesh, including voter list irregularities, ballot stuffing, and the manipulation of vote counts. There have also been reports of violence and intimidation during election campaigns, which have sometimes resulted in the deaths of political activists. The BNP and its allies boycotted the 2014 elections, citing concerns over the impartiality of the Election Commission and the government's control over the electoral process. The BNP participated in the 2019 elections but raised concerns about the election process, including allegations of vote rigging and ballot box stuffing. The BNP also alleged that its candidates were subjected to intimidation and harassment by government officials and supporters. International election observers, including those from the European Union and the Commonwealth, raised concerns about the election process, noting incidents of violence and intimidation during the campaign period, as well as irregularities in the voter list and ballot counting process. The observers also noted the lack of a level playing field for all parties and candidates, and the government's control over the media, which limited the opposition's ability to campaign freely. In summary, while the government of Bangladesh has denied allegations of rigging the 2019 election, there have been concerns raised by opposition parties and international election observers regarding the fairness and credibility of the electoral process. During the election campaign, there were reports of violence and intimidation, including attacks on opposition candidates and supporters. The government was also accused of using state resources and media to support its campaign, while limiting the opposition's ability to campaign freely. On election day, there were also reports of irregularities, including ballot box stuffing, and the intimidation of voters and opposition polling agents. International election observers, including those from the European Union and the Commonwealth, raised concerns about the election process, noting that it was marred by violence, irregularities, and the lack of a level playing field for all parties and candidates. Despite these concerns, the Election Commission declared the election results in favor of the Awami League, which won a landslide victory, securing more than 2/3 of the seats in parliament. The BNP and its allies rejected the results, alleging widespread vote rigging and demanding a fresh election under a neutral caretaker government. There have been various reports and allegations of irregularities and violence during the 2019 parliamentary elections in Bangladesh, but it is difficult to establish concrete proof of election rigging or other malpractices without thorough investigations and evidence. International election observer missions, such as those from the European Union and the Commonwealth, raised concerns about the election process, noting incidents of violence and intimidation during the campaign period, as well as irregularities in the voter list and ballot counting process. However, these concerns were based on observations and reports rather than concrete evidence. Given that no credible independent political polling exists in Bangladesh, analysts were left with reviews of spontaneous public engagements in political processions, social media sentiment analysis and online polling as the only tangible measures for gauging popular support towards any political party. However unscientific, they showed that there was underpinning momentum towards voting for the country's major opposition alliance during this election cycle. Even the most partisan of estimates coming from government-affiliated pollsters, some prepared by nebulous characters and organizations, allotted at least 49 parliamentary seats for the opposition out of the 298 contested. However, as the results came in, it seemed as though the government's elaborate machinery ended up over-managing the election and lost its grip on its own script along the way. The Awami League Party and its alliance ended up bagging 288 seats, leaving just 7 seats for the Jatiya Eco Front, the major opposition alliance led by the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP. There were constituencies where the ruling party won 99.9% of the votes, and hardly any ruling party candidate lost the contests, according to unofficial results. During 4 prior elections held under neutral caretaker governments between 1991 and 2008, no winning party ever won more than 48% of the popular votes. In this election, the winners bagged more than 90% of the total votes cast, raising serious doubts over the fairness of the polls.